Well, thank you so much, Don, and it's a great pleasure to be with all of you, and I just want to express as one diocesan bishop my appreciation for the work that all of you do in the Catholic press in order to communicate the good news and to inspire and inform and evangelize the Catholic community and the broader community throughout the United States. So thank you so much. It's quite obvious that the whole question of religious liberty is front and center in the work of the Bishops' Conference and also really in the ministries of many bishops and local churches nowadays. And so what I would like to do perhaps is to offer some themes together with a sense of how we are going to approach these things at the forthcoming meeting in Atlanta, and then talk a little bit about the Fortnight for Freedom, if that's okay. First of all, I think that it should be said that what we are trying to do is not to expand the liberty that the Church has enjoyed for much of our history in the United States. I think what we are really trying to do is to maintain, preserve the religious liberty that we have enjoyed and utilized for the sake of the mission. We also recognize that this is a struggle, certainly to maintain the freedom of the Church as an institution to go about its mission, but we are also recognizing the importance of defending the right of conscientious individuals to go about their daily work and their professional lives in a way that comports with their religious convictions. A couple of things around here. One is the separation of church and state. We all know that metaphor that was devised by Thomas Jefferson. It was certainly devised to keep the state from intruding in the church's territory more than the other way around. And that's precisely what's happening with the HHS mandate. The Health and Human Services is intruding in the church's territory by forcing the church to fund and or facilitate a product contrary to its teaching. And whether or not one agrees with particular church teachings, this intrusion violates a principle, creates a slippery slope. So if we can be forced to violate teaching A today, we can be forced to violate teaching B or C tomorrow. And so that's why we are drawing the line now, whether or not our teaching is culturally popular. And so it seems to me that we need to do this. Now, we are almost everywhere. Catholic dioceses and Catholic charities are usually the largest non-governmental providers of educational and social and charitable services. You would think when we're in a time of economic downturn, you would think that the government would make it easier for us, not more difficult for us, to serve the common good, and yet that's what we are going through. The HHS mandate includes within it a definition of the Church's mission. You can be exempt from the mandate if you are a religious organization that hires your own, serves your own, and exists mainly, if not almost exclusively, to inculcate your own doctrine, that if you're out there hiring people of other faiths and serving people of other faiths, well, then you're not considered religious enough to be deserving of an exemption. As you know, this leaves out our vast network of hospitals, schools, social services, and it really jeopardizes their mission, the mission of being able to deliver these excellent services in a manner that accords with the faith that inspired them in the first place. Now, of course, it said we have an exemption, but let me just say it's the stingiest exemption ever. What we have now in federal law is a perfectly fine exemption. It's been on the books since right after Roe v. Wade. We didn't really need one before that. And it has accommodated not only the Catholic Church, but all churches and private individuals fine for these many years. And so we're saying, why can't we? We're all for universal access to health care. Why can't we simply go forward with the conscience protections already in place? Of course, you've seen that this has been framed in much of the media as an argument about contraception. It is not. What belies that statement is the ecumenical and interfaith support we have. Our partners, for the most part, do not share our teaching with regard to contraception, but they perceive the danger of the governments reaching inside the church and trying to force us to violate our teaching and also our conscience. And as a matter of fact, contraception is widely available. It's covered in 90% of health plans, and it is easily available for about $9 or $10 a month from Target and Walmart. Much talk is out there also about the accommodation. The accommodation really isn't an accommodation. It lets the mandate stand as is. The HHS mandate is actually law. And basically saying that the insurance companies are going to take care of things doesn't work on one of two counts. One count is that most of us are self-insured, so we are the insurer. The other account is that we should be wise enough and experienced enough to know that nothing comes for free. And these costs will be reflected back onto our institutions that are not self-insured, and that's the distinct minority of them. I think that one of the most astonishing things I saw on TV lately was an interview with Miss America contestants, and they were asked to name who the vice president is. And only one got out the name Joe Biden. That perhaps is a bit of a parable about the need for massive education regarding religious liberty, both what the church teaches about it in Dignitatis Humanae, and also what is our heritage as Americans, inasmuch as our founding documents have recognized God-given human freedoms that go to the inherent worth of every human person. So one step in defending religious liberty is to talk about it, to convey it, to teach it, to make sure that people recognize that religious liberty is not given by the government, but by God, that it means more than going to Mass on Sunday, or the freedom privately to believe what one wishes to hold. It also means the freedom to live one's life and and to conduct one's professional existence in accord with one's convictions. And it certainly means that we have a right to be out in the public square, seeking to implement the Church's social teaching and to create what Pope Paul VI called a civilization of love. And so therefore, the government should not be behaving as if it is granting us religious freedom, doing us a favor. The government has no business defining us. And absent some compelling interest, like health and safety, it has no business placing any limits on the free exercise of religion or upon our conscience rights. And so, not only do we have to exercise our teaching office, not only do we have to use all of the means available to us to communicate our heritage of freedom, we also have to be vigilant and we have to protect it. As you know, there are both domestic threats and international threats to religious liberty. In our own country, it's been more of an erosion that perhaps began as early as the 1930s or the 1940s. I read a very interesting article this morning in the Wall Street Journal concerning Franklin Roosevelt's D-Day prayer. And here on as our troops were going into harm's way on Omaha Beach, there was the president not giving a news conference and not explaining to people what we were doing or why we were doing it, but a president leading our nation in prayer. How much things have changed indeed. So there's been a kind of an erosion over time. It's been first and foremost a cultural erosion. There are bad laws, there are bad administrative decisions, there are bad court decisions that have contributed to the erosion of religious liberty. But these are perhaps reflective of a culture that has increasingly marginalized God and the things of God, and has begun to redefine and to delimit religious liberty such that it has become simply freedom of worship. And that any attempts to allow religious faith to exercise our culture increasingly is being seen as something harmful. I think it is very important to say that the struggle we are engaging in here is not a partisan issue. We didn't choose the time, we didn't choose the place. We're not trying to throw an election. We are simply trying to defend fundamental freedoms, not a Democratic or a Republican issue, not a Catholic issue, but an American issue. If the threats are rough here at home, they're even rougher around the world, where people are losing their life in bloody religious struggles. One only has to cast one's eye toward a place like Syria, or one has to look at the struggles in the Sudan, and many other places around the world where there are modern-day martyrs for the faith. We are not at home crying in our beer just for ourselves. We are engaged in the domestic struggle because we believe that we have to keep the torch of flame burning brightly at home so as to be a beacon of hope for oppressed people around the world. Let me just say two more things, and then I will pause. And I apologize for going on and on about this, but when you get me wound up on this subject, it's pretty hard to get me unwound. So let me say two more things. First, there have been some lawsuits filed. As you know, 12 lawsuits representing 43 Catholic entities. It's obviously unwise for me to enter too much into the weeds about them, but I think that this reflects our determination to defend the first of our freedoms, religious liberty. It's a wide variety of plaintiffs, and some of them on various grounds, but they seem to be good plaintiffs, and they are broadly representative of all the religious liberty issues that are out there, and we are very grateful to Jones Day for making possible this broad-based effort. We did it now because we felt that these issues had ripened sufficiently, and we did it now because we wanted to get our issue out there in the legal system before the HH mandate kicks into gear, and for many of our institutions, that will be happening in August, barring unforeseen developments. As we head into Atlanta, I will, as the chair of the ad hoc committee, be speaking with all the bishops, offering them a sort of an update. I will be speaking about the statement that the ad hoc committee published with the approval of the administrative committee, religious freedom, our first most cherished freedom. I will be speaking about the uses that can be made of that statement. I will also be hitting all of the points that were made by the administrative committee itself in its document entitled United for Religious Freedom. And you've all read that document, so I will not offer you a reprise of it at this time unless there is a calmer Jalen for me to do this. And then obviously we will be offering the bishops an update on the legal action that has been taken to the extent that is taken. And a major part of my presentation will pertain to the Fortnight for Religious Freedom. I might mention something about that to you now. And as the new Archbishop of Baltimore, I'm kicking it off in our basilica. It is the oldest cathedral in the United States. Cornerstone laid by John Carroll in 1806. His cousin, Charles Carroll, signed the Declaration of Independence. It's a uniquely American cathedral planted on American soil. It symbolizes, in many ways, the whole experiment of religious toleration and freedom. Many dioceses are doing magnificent things to observe the Fortnight of Freedom, whether it is educational seminars, prayer services, homilies, the celebration of Thomas More and John Fisher, large gatherings to discuss religious freedom. It's just being observed in a multiplicity of ways. Just last night I was on with a group of evangelicals who are making their plans to observe the Fortnight, as are the Baptists, as are the Orthodox Christians, as are some of the Orthodox Jews. And we're hoping to conclude it with a very large Mass at the Basilica, the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception on July 4th, and with bell ringing all around the country. What's the whole point of this? Number one, to pray. It seems entirely appropriate to pray for the preservation of religious liberty. The Lord said, without me you can do nothing. You really need to pray. As a Catholic and broader church community, number one, in our homes and privately. So I think that's number one, is to pray. And secondly, is a great opportunity for education and catechesis on religious liberty. And thirdly, it's an opportunity to give people the strength and inspiration they need for the struggle that lies ahead. Religious liberty, let me close with this, is not a short-term struggle. Even if we win the HHS lawsuits, it's a mandate. The larger cultural issue of defending and preserving religious liberty and the place of religion in our culture is something we're going to have to engage in for many years to come. It's a little bit analogous to the whole process of defending marriage or defending unborn life. It's a long-term process.
Well, thank you, everybody, and thank you for sticking with us, even though we had some audio difficulties. And just to conclude, I know that you represent a broad array of parishes and ministries in the Archdiocese, and I know there's many activities already planned, but I would hope that on this conference call, some very specific ways of celebrating the Fortnight might emerge, and that we might do it quite robustly here in the Archdiocese of Baltimore. I think we will send to ourselves and to those around us a wonderful signal that religious liberty is a great gift from God. It's more than freedom of worship. It's the freedom to really live our faith and to really build a culture of civilization of love. That this is a great gift that needs to be preserved and fostered. So thank you all so very, very much. And now if I could turn it over to Johanna Kosman, please.
Thank you, Archbishop. And some of you have noticed that you can enter questions online. Feel free to do that throughout the rest of the presentation, and we'll have a time for questions at the end also. I'll just reiterate some of what Archbishop said and then offer you some specific suggestions as well. Beginning with Mass here in Baltimore's historic Basilica of the Assumption, the Archdiocese of Baltimore joins Christians across the country in fervent prayer for religious liberty. We invite everyone to join us for these 2 weeks, beginning Thursday, June 21st, and ending Wednesday, July 4th, to learn about religious freedom and pray for its preservation. Following the opening Mass with Archbishop Lori, regional prayer and educational events will continue throughout the Archdiocese, from Cumberland to Westminster, Pilesville to Severna Park, Ellicott City to Rosedale. At least one event will take place each day. If your parish is planning an event, please let us know and it will be added to the list. A calendar is available online and will be regularly updated with new details and events. Many resources are available to help parishes promote the Fortnight. Posters and a printable two-sided flyer have been sent to every parish to advertise the opening Mass and regional events. These are also available online. The Communications Office sent sample homilies, prayers of the faithful, and scripture passages as well. The United States Conference of Catholic Bishops has created a bulletin insert, which is available online in both English and Spanish. Christians across the country will pray together a beautiful prayer for religious liberty, designated by the Conference of Bishops for the Fortnight. In addition to the prayer printed on specially designed prayer cards, the faithful will be praying patriotic rosaries, litanies for liberty, and other prayers, all available online. Prayer cards are available from Catholic Printing Service for only $10 for 100 cards, with discounts available for larger orders. All parishes are encouraged to produce these cards and say this prayer as a parish community. Orders were due Tuesday, and you should have received multiple emails about this. Should you still need cards, please contact the Catholic Review as soon as possible. We encourage you to engage parish ministries, the Knights, Legion of Mary, social justice committees, mothers groups, Bible studies, and others, in this effort by inviting them to the opening Mass with the Archbishop and to the regional events, and by offering them small group study resources, also available online. These study resources and information specifically prepared by the Family Life Office and Youth and Young Adult Ministry are perfect for families to learn and pray together. During the two Sunday Masses occurring during the fortnight, Sunday, June 24th and Sunday, July 1st, we invite the clergy to educate their parishioners about religious liberty and current threats to this first freedom through their homilies. As mentioned earlier, sample homilies for these two Sundays have been emailed and are available through the communications office. Please consider using a bulletin insert one of these 2 weekends as well. Additional prayer, video, and print resources are also available online at archvault.org/fortnightforfreedom, archvault.org/familylife/respectlife/fortnight, and Fortnight4freedom.org. These 3 sites contain a host of both local and national resources. At the conclusion of the fortnight, a live telecast Mass will be celebrated at the National Shrine in D.C. at 12:10 p.m. Cardinal Donald Wuerl will be the celebrant, and Archbishop Charles Chaput of Philadelphia will preach the homily. All are welcome. Parishes are invited to join this great prayer with Mass at their parishes as well. All Catholic churches in the United States will ring their bells at 12 noon Eastern on July 4th. We encourage your participation. As mentioned, Archbishop William Lori will celebrate the national kickoff for the fortnight. This opening Mass will be here in Baltimore on Thursday, June 21st at 7 p.m. at the Basilica, and will be telecast live on EWTN and streamed live over the internet at archvault.org. We are making a real push for attendance and hope each of you will encourage others to attend and that you will attend yourselves. All are welcome and no invitation is needed. Parking will be available in the garage on Franklin Street, less than a block from the Basilica. These regional events will follow Mass on June 21st. A Holy Hour for Religious Freedom on Friday, June 22nd at Our Lady of Perpetual Health in Ellicott City. Mass, prayer service, and patriotic ceremony for the retirement of American flags on the morning of Saturday the 23rd at St. Clement Mary Hofbauer in Rosedale. The evening of June 23rd, Mass will be celebrated at St. Mark's in Fallston, followed by exposition of the Blessed Sacrament and a patriotic rosary. St. Philip and James in Baltimore City will host a Eucharistic Holy Hour following the 5 p.m. Mass with meditation on the theme of the Church's prophetic voice in the public arena and prayer related to the themes of the fortnight. Adoration of the Blessed Sacrament will be made available at St. John, Westminster on Monday the 25th. A prayer service will also be held at St. John the Evangelist in Frederick that evening. St. Louis and Clarksville will host Holy Hour with Teve chant and prayer for religious liberty on Tuesday evening the 26th. There will be a Holy Hour, a Eucharistic Holy Hour followed by Mass at St. Michael's in Overley, and Adoration and Mass with the special theme of religious liberty at Our Lady of the Mountains in Cumberland, both on Wednesday, June 27th. Mass will be offered following all-day adoration with the sermon Catholics, Conscience, and Courage at St. Peter in Hancock on Thursday evening, June 28th. A Living Rosary and Benediction will be held at St. Mary's in Pilesville on Friday, June 29th. Mass will be celebrated at St. Charles Borromeo in Pikesville on Saturday, June 30th. Holy Family in Middletown will host a Holy Hour with prayers for religious liberty on Sunday evening, July 1st. Monday, July 2nd, St. Thomas Aquinas in Baltimore City will host a Holy Hour followed by a Rosary and Mass. And St. John the Evangelist in Severna Park will wrap up the regional events on Tuesday the 3rd with evening Mass. The online calendar, available at archvault.org/fortnightforfreedom, will be updated regularly. If your parish is also hosting an event, please let us know by sending an email to communications@archvault.org, and it will be added to the calendar. The National Closing Mass will be at 12:10 on Wednesday, July 4th, along with Masses at local parishes. If there are any questions, please submit them online now or email communications@archvault.org.